Number 9 Illinois at number 19 Indiana, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC. This is a game that could have massive playoff implications for both teams. So last year, the Big Ten sent 4 teams to the college football playoff: Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, and Indiana. Those first 3 schools, Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon, currently, Dalton, have the best odds of any schools in the country to make the playoff this year, according to DraftKings Sportsbook. So those 3 are the best in odds right now in the country. If the Big Ten is going to send a 4th team once again to the 12-team field, the winner of this game is going to be the favorite to do so. Illinois and Indiana are the next highest-ranked teams in the Big Ten after the trio of Ohio State, Penn State, and Oregon. So this is a game between these two that might be the biggest in their rivalry's history. It is a huge game this week.
I think it's incredible, this game and the Michigan-Nebraska game, that we've got what you would probably consider, we'll see where some others like USC or maybe another surprise team get to, but these are probably the 4 Big Ten teams that we're covering that are the 4 teams fighting for that spot. Yeah. Or if they were to pull off an upset over one of those big 3 teams as well, these are the 4 teams we're talking about. Indiana's also got a game at Oregon. Michigan's always, they're playing Ohio State, and I believe they're hosting Oregon. Nebraska, they have one. They're at Penn State, I think, later in the year, I think it is. I mean, they all have big games against those teams coming, but these 2 games right here, and this Indiana-Illinois game with the 2 of them already ranked, what is it, Illinois' 9 and Indiana's 19?
Yep.
I mean, that's a good call. It's on the screen. I'm just going. See, I memorized things. So
there you go. Yeah.
Things, but no, I mean, to have these 2 games this week and to kick off the Big Ten schedules for each of them, unbelievable way to set the tone. This is going to be an awesome football game.
I cannot freaking wait for this ball game. All right, you have the Illinois offense with Luke Altmaier. What should we know when the Fighting Illini have the ball in this game?
Usually we're about Luke Altmaier and the passing game and the pass protection and all that. I'm going to go a different route here. I'm going to talk about Caden Fagan and Aiden Lawfree and maybe even a little Luke Altmaier and this run game for Illinois, because if there's something that I noticed looking at the run game, a lot of zone running, a lot of between the tackles running. Illinois is really good at running between the tackles. In fact, they are leading the nation in rushing grade when they run between the tackles. In successful play rate, they're 13th in yards per carry. They are 2nd in explosive run rate. When they run right between the tackles with these zone run concepts and these backs, especially Caden Fagan, as big as he is, holy hell, he's huge. He's hard to tackle. You have a problem. And then they get the 2-way going with the RPOs and Altmaier getting rid of the football quickly. Now, strength on strength. Okay, Illinois this year, maybe they've been the best team in football, in college football, running the ball between the tackles. Indiana, in all those categories I just mentioned, run defense grade, successful play rate allowed, yards per carry, explosive run rate. Since the start of last year, since Kurt Cignetti's been there, they're a top 5 team in the country in all of those categories in run defense between the tackles. Who is going to bang their head against the wall on the inside when Illinois has the ball? Can they force Illinois into 3rd and long, into true drop-back situations, and then allow Mikael Kamara to get in and terrorize this offensive line? Can they do that? Or is Illinois going to continue this success between the tackles? It wasn't as good against Duke. There were moments late in the game where it was better, but early in the game, a little bit of a struggle. But Illinois, they're coming right at you. Indiana on defense, they're coming right at you. It is going to be a war, I think, in the run game and early downs for Illinois. I wonder even if they go ahead and throw the football a decent amount early with Luke Altmaier to try to loosen things up, because there's some darn good football players still up there in that front 7 for Indiana. I think that's what I'm looking for. How much balance can Illinois have? Can they break down this brick wall on the inside for Indiana?
Yeah, and my match with watching the other side of the ball is the quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, against a really aggressive Illinois defense. Illinois blitzes quarterbacks at the highest rate in the Power 4 this year. Over a 60% blitz rate for Illinois' defense this year, the highest rate in the Power 4. They also play man coverage at the 6th highest rate in the country at 54%. It was very similar to last year, too. So it's not like a brand new thing through a couple games this year. Fernando Mendoza right now is the 7th best PFF grade among all quarterbacks in the country, the 90.5 PFF grade. But it's worth mentioning he's faced a soft schedule so far for Indiana. He'll be tested much more this week against Illinois. If you look at his PFF grades by situation this year, when he's blitzed, 46th in PFF grade. When he's not blitzed, 2nd. Against man coverage this year, 144th in the country in PFF grade with only a 53 PFF grade. Against zone coverage, 93.9 grade. third in the country. So when he's not blitzed and against zone coverage, he's a top 3 quarterback in America right now. When he is blitzed and against man coverage, he's either average or well below average right now. No, I will say, at California, it's a limited sample size this year. At Cal in 2024, he was 29th in PFF grade against man coverage, 19th in PFF grade against the blitz. He'll need to perform like his version of himself last year at Cal rather than this one this year at Indiana, because Illinois, like I mentioned, is extremely aggressive. One of the most aggressive defenses in the country with how much they blitz and how much they play man coverage. He's going to have to get rid of the ball quickly probably, and also get rid of the ball and make tight window throws against man coverage.
Yeah, Mendoza, I think for especially draft scouts and things of that nature, what brings Mendoza's appeal to them is his decisiveness. He's very decisive. Sometimes he's almost too decisive and predetermining throws and gets himself in trouble in that way. But I do think as much, Mendoza's obviously an important piece. Look, and you mentioned it, the grades against the blitz and man coverage, they haven't played anybody the first 3 weeks either. Old Dominion was, now I know Old Dominion now is pretty good. They beat Virginia Tech, but Old Dominion was the best of the 3 teams that they've beaten so far. This is the first real test for Mendoza in this offense, and it's funny you mentioned that graphic and those stats you brought up, because really, whose defense is Mendoza most equipped to beat?
It's Indiana.
It's actually Indiana, right? So, but he's not playing against Indiana. Can't beat him, join him. But, I think him, Elijah Surratt being able to separate on the outside, Omar Cooper being able to separate on the outside is big. Indiana balancing it with if they ask Mendoza to come in here and carry them through this game, I don't think that's the right idea. And I don't think Kurt Cignetti's going to do that. I think they're going to play the same brand of football that they've played for a year plus now on offense. It's going to be balanced. It's going to be RPOs. Yes, they're going to be quick, intermediate throws. I think if you just drop back and go, all right, dude, this is yours, it's not how you want this to work, because even Indiana last year with Curtis Rourke, the teams that blitzed them more and frustrated their offensive line, the teams that were matching up man-to-man with those receivers. Now, you have to be capable of doing it because it's still a talented group that Indiana has, but think about Ohio State and Notre Dame and Michigan, right? Those teams, they got aggressive, they got in man-to-man, and they blitzed and they twisted and got all sorts on this offensive line and pass protection too. That's going to be a big factor. So this is a fun matchup, especially in his first big game of the year for Mendoza against a super aggressive Illinois defense.
That's a really great point. You just made it's like 2 defenses with polar opposite philosophies.
Yeah, Indiana's defense is
don't blitz, play zone coverage the most in the country, and Illinois play man coverage and blitz a hell of a lot.
Indiana's defense, and the challenge for Luke Altmaier, not only is it a very talented defense, but the big theme that we saw last year with their defense was rotating safeties. You have to constantly find rotations in zone coverage and trust your eyes after the snap and know where to go with it. I think Altmaier, as a third-year starter, actually doesn't have an advantage there, but I think it's good that he has so much experience seeing all the looks and playing all the games that he has. Mendoza, it's just going to be a matter of, look, man, you want to be that guy? Go out there and make big throws against a really talented defense.
Definitely. All right. And what is, in my opinion, the biggest game of the weekend between 2 top 20 teams in Illinois and Indiana? Who will win and really establish themselves as a legitimate contender to make the playoff in the Big Ten this year?
I think it's going to be a darn physical football game.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to be some sort of shootout. I know a lot of people love Mendoza, and a lot of people know Altmaier, and they love him too, and he's played really well so far. I think we're getting a low-scoring sort of football game. I think these 2 defenses are actually the better, more prepared units on the field. And with Fernando Mendoza, and I know this all the hype, and I know last year, you and I both thought he was solid at Cal. It was streaky, he can run hot and cold, and Cal wasn't great, and they didn't have a great offensive line. I need to see it first, right? Because there's QB1 conversation, there's top 20 pick conversation, there's is he the future quarterback of the New York Jets conversation, all that sort of thing, right? I need to see it because at Cal, I saw a solid quarterback, decisive. He can make some throws. He can work outside the pocket a little. I don't think he's an A-plus athlete by any means. And they've played 3 not very good teams at all. And the game against Old Dominion, they weren't finishing drives. I don't think they looked great on offense in that game. I'm going to go, I think Illinois, and I know Indiana made the playoff last year, but I think Illinois has the more proven commodity at quarterback. Both teams are a very proven commodity on defense. Again, I think the 2 defenses really control this game. I think it's going to be a matter of who finishes drives in the red zone, and if Mendoza can make 4 or 5 big NFL-type throws. Then we start to look at him a little different against a team like this, right? For now, kind of the same way I have in the Michigan-Nebraska game. I think Michigan's a more proven commodity. I'm taking Illinois as the same thing, 20-17.
I have Illinois 27-24, which is crazy because Indiana is favored actually in this ball game. But I have Illinois as well winning this ball game. I think Mendoza will have a lot of issues against Illinois' aggressive defensive philosophy, and also that Indiana defense, their philosophy is kind of suited for Altmaier to have a decent day out there. Altmaier is not great when his blitzes are coming after him or when there's a lot of man coverage, but against zone coverage, he's been really good. This is a defense where Altmaier can have a lot of success. I think Illinois is going to win this ball game, and it'll be a huge game for their playoff candidacy this year.
It's a much easier pass rush for Illinois' offensive line to see coming. It's much more just here's our four, here they come, right? Josh Kreutz in the middle making the calls, J.C. Davis and Melvin Priestley at tackle. There's not as much confusion, and I think that's a lot of times the same way that I just talked about for Indiana. Illinois last year and even this year against Duke, we've seen when it's complicated looks, the mug looks or stunts or everything else that these teams can throw at you, that's when they get into problems. Indiana's not all that creative up front with their pass rush, which really leans in Illinois' favor. Because when it's just four guys, they're talented enough to block people, but they have always had a lot of communication issues with things like that. Indiana's defense is simpler, especially on the front end, and they just execute really well, and they got good players. But I think Illinois should feel a little more comfortable than against a blitzing coach like Duke or last year when they played Penn State or teams like that.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that one.
Agreed. All right, so both Illinois winning that ball game, which should be a heck of a game, in my opinion, the biggest game of the weekend between number 9 Illinois and number 19 Indiana.